What's up, everyone? Andy with the Heartland Institute, bringing you more from climaterealism.com. Before we get into it, welcome back to my house, my humblest of abodes. There was a huge snowstorm in Chicago and my car is stuck, everything is frozen, the roads are terrible, so we're gonna do this from home today because can't really move very well right now. But that's besides the point. Well, really, I was kind of hoping with, runaway climate change that maybe snow would stop being such a problem here in Chicago, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I'm waiting for the article saying, oh yeah, when the world gets warmer, we're going to have more snow and more cold. Actually, we did have that article. I did it a few weeks ago. But okay, so today I want to talk about John Kerry. Now, John Kerry recently made some comments regarding green energy that the entire media seems to be refuting. And I'm not just talking about the right-leaning media, I'm talking the entire media. So before we get into those, let's just do a quick lesson on John Kerry. John Kerry is a politician who's been at it since 1983. John Kerry is currently the United States Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, or as others are calling him, the Climate Czar. Previously, John Kerry was a United States Senator from Massachusetts from January 2nd, 1985 to February 1st, 2013. In 2004, John Kerry won the Democratic Party presidential nomination in a race against George Bush. Kerry lost both the Electoral College and the popular vote by narrow margins. He won 251 electors to George Bush's 286. In 2013, President Barack Obama keyed John Kerry to be the 68th United States Secretary of State. John Kerry served in this role until January 20th, 2017. Now that Joe Biden is president, as mentioned, John Kerry is the United States Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. So there's our quick history lesson on John Kerry, but why are we talking about him today? Well, it's simple. John Kerry has made some interesting comments lately that fly in the face of actual logic or truth. Here's the two quotes that we're going to highlight. On January 27th, Kerry said in remarks from the White House, "You look at the consequences of black lung for a miner, for instance, and measure that against the fastest growing job in the United States before COVID was solar power technician. The same people can do those jobs, but the choice of doing the solar power one is now a better choice. And similarly, you have the second fastest growing job pre-COVID was wind turbine technician." On January 28th, on MSNBC, John Kerry said,
"Before COVID, the fastest growing job in the United States of America was solar panel technician, and the second fastest growing job was wind turbine technician."
So the Washington Post, which is generally a very left-leaning newspaper, and when they refute John Kerry or a leftist position, it generally means this was easily refuted and they not even they could just run with this. But they put out an article from their fact checkers titled, "Kerry's Misleading Framing of Potential Solar and Wind Jobs." So here's how this works. Essentially, solar and wind power advocates will talk about how they're some of the fastest growing sectors of the economy and they're creating so many jobs. But what they're talking about isn't actually number of jobs created, it's percentage growth of their industry compared to the total number of people in the industry. So here's a simple example. Say there's a 10-person solar power company that hires 5 new people in 2020. So they can claim that in 2020 they've grown 50%. Look at how fast we're growing, it's huge. But they've only created 5 new jobs. Now say that a coal mining company has 1,000 people and they hire, let's say 100 people in 2020. So they can only claim that they've grown 10% from 1,000 to 1,100 or 100 of 1,000, which is 10%. But at the same time, they've created 100 new jobs. So while they created 95 more jobs in the solar power company, they can only report that they've grown 10%. So the solar power company and solar power advocates will go out and say, look at how much faster our sector is growing than these other sectors of conventional energy sources. But in reality, when you consider the total number of jobs created, it's literally not even close. It's way higher in conventional energy sources than it is in solar power. So to explain this briefly one more time, if you have a small industry that hires 5 employees, they can say, look at the percentage growth here. It's huge. If you have a larger industry that hires 50 employees, they created way more jobs, but the actual percentage growth is smaller. So that's what the solar and wind advocates are talking about. They're talking about percentage growth. They're not talking about total number of jobs created, because if they talked about those numbers, it would be nothing. These are very small industries compared to the more conventional energy sources. Here's some concrete numbers. The coal industry has approximately 50,000 employees currently working in it. Solar and wind power combined are only expected to add 10,000 new jobs in the next 10 years. So if you legislate 50,000 people out of their jobs, and you already have the established solar and wind power employees, only 10,000 of those jobs can be filled in the next 10 years. So that's 20% of the people that are currently have jobs that will get new ones, and the other 80%, or 40,000 people, is screwed. And more, these are lower paying jobs. So the median income for a coal miner is $59,000 in 2019. For a wind turbine technician, it's $53,000, and for a solar panel installer, it's $45,000. So 50,000 people in the coal industry will lose their jobs. In the next 10 years, the wind and solar power industries are expected to grow by 10,000 people. So 80% of those coal industry workers will not get jobs in the solar and wind power industries. Only 20% will, and they'll be making less. So even the Washington Post saw these John Kerry comments saying these are the fastest growing sectors, we're going to be able to move everyone into those jobs, and they're like, no, that's just not true. And to be honest, when a leftist newspaper comes out and actually refutes leftist points, it's generally pretty telling. Like, that point must be really disconnected from the reality of the situation. The Washington Post also notes that John Kerry cites biased and unreliable statistics that come from the wind and solar power industry themselves instead of the job data that comes straight from the federal government. So even with John Kerry's biased statistics, you can still see that lots of people are going to lose their jobs. So essentially, even the Washington Post, a left-leaning, leftist newspaper, came out and said John Kerry's claims are not true and not every single coal energy worker is going to be able to go into renewable energy. I just wanted to bring this all to your attention. I thought this was really interesting. I love math. It's one of my favorite things. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't, if you're watching this on YouTube, head to our Facebook page. It's a really just active, vibrant community. People are always discussing there. It's under Climate Realism. Check it out. If you're watching on Facebook, go check out our YouTube page. Subscribe to us. That'd be a big help. Outside of that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you all tomorrow.